It began with the sound of a clock. Then, suddenly, even that stopped. At precisely 6:47 on a Tuesday morning, the town of Halford froze. The wind stopped blowing, the river stopped moving. A flock of birds hung in the sky like painted dots on glass. Cars were still, mid-turn. People were silent statues. Only one person moved. Ethan, a 32-year-old watch repairer who had just dropped his tools when everything went quiet. He waited, blinking, but the second hand on the wall clock no longer moved. At first, he thought he had gone deaf. He called out, "Hello." But his voice echoed strangely in the air, as if the world had forgotten how to answer. He ran outside. His neighbors stood mid-step, mid-laugh, mid-life. Mrs. Hall's watering can poured a stream of water that never reached the flowers. A boy's ball hovered just inches above the grass. The smoke from the bakery chimney rose halfway and simply froze. Ethan's heart raced. He ran down Main Street, shouting names, waving his arms, desperately trying to wake someone, anyone. Nothing, not even a blink. For the first time in his life, the man who repaired timepieces was standing in a world without time. He sat down on the curb, breathing hard. The only sound was his own heartbeat, slow, steady, real. He touched his chest and whispered to the silent world, "So, it's just me." Hours passed, or maybe days, it was impossible to know. The sun didn't move, the shadows stayed fixed and sharp. He walked the streets, exploring these frozen moments. Children's laughter caught in stone, a cat leaping forever, a newspaper drifting in midair. At first, the silence was terrifying, an oppressive weight. But after a while, it became strangely beautiful. He could study every detail, the intricate ripple on a puddle, the sparkle of glass in a shop window, the single, tiny tear frozen on a woman's cheek as she said goodbye to a loved one. Then, after what felt like weeks, Ethan began to feel something new, a loneliness heavier than silence. He missed voices, laughter, the gentle tick of clocks. He began to speak to the frozen people, telling them stories as if they could hear. He'd tell the mailman about his day, and ask the baker if his bread was still warm inside. One day, he found himself drawn to the town's clock tower's favorite place. He climbed the winding spiral stairs and reached the great gears, all frozen mid-turn, and on the wall, he saw something that hadn't been there before, words written in what looked like fresh chalk. "Time stops when hearts forget to care." He stared at the message. Someone had written it after the world stopped, or maybe it was meant just for him. He sat beside the massive clock face, thinking, had the people in his town stopped caring? Was he meant to fix this, somehow? He remembered how everyone used to hurry through life, rushing, shouting, never looking up. He realized he had done the same, lost in his work, forgetting to connect. Maybe time stopped because everyone forgot to feel truly alive. Ethan decided to do what he always did, fix things. He knew he couldn't repair the world, but he could start with one thing, the clock. He meticulously cleaned the gears, oiled the axles, and turned the heavy winding key. Nothing happened. The gears remained still. Then, he remembered the message. Time stops when hearts forget to care. It wasn't a mechanical problem. It was a human one. So he closed his eyes, placed a hand over his chest, and thought about the people he loved, his mother's gentle smile, the sound of children laughing in the park, the simple warmth of a stranger's kindness. He focused on that feeling, that deep, resonant care for the world around him. He whispered into the silent chamber, "I still care," and then a sound. A single, metallic tick. The clock hand moved, slowly, then again, tick, tock. The tower began to tremble, a low hum that grew into a deep vibration. Ethan ran to the window, outside. The wind began to breathe again. The river started to flow. The birds completed their flight across the sky. Mrs. Hall's water finally splashed onto the flowers. The world sighed. Alive again. People blinked, looking around in confusion, a moment of shared bewilderment. They had no idea that time had stopped. No idea that one man's heartbeat had kept the rhythm alive for them all. Ethan walked back to his shop, a real smile gracing his face for the first time in years. As he entered, the clocks around him all began ticking again, hundreds of tiny heartbeats filling the air with their familiar, comforting chorus. He whispered, "You're welcome," not to anyone in particular, but to the world itself. In the days that followed, he noticed something different about people. They smiled more, they greeted strangers, they took longer walks, their heads held high. No one understood what had happened, but everyone felt changed, as if time had given them a precious second chance. One morning, Ethan placed a small, hand-painted sign in his shop window. It said, "We don't just fix time. We remember why it matters." A young girl came in with a broken pocket watch. "Can you fix this?" she asked, her eyes wide with hope. He nodded, taking the watch gently. "Of course," he said. "But only if you promise to keep it ticking, not with batteries, but with kindness." She laughed, not fully understanding, but she agreed. Later that night, as Ethan closed his shop, he looked up at the stars. For a moment, they seemed to pause again, not in fear this time, but in perfect harmony. He thought of the message he had seen in the clock tower and smiled. Time stops when hearts forget to care, but as long as even one heart keeps beating, the world will never truly stop. He turned off the light in his shop, listening to the steady rhythm of 100 ticking clocks, all beating together like one great, living heart. And before he went to sleep, he whispered the same words that had brought everything back to life. Be the heartbeat. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content that explores the little moments that make life matter. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.